Well, folks, the clock's ticking. It's just a matter of time before the human race is extinct. Okay, probably not. We've made it through a dozen of these things and we're still here. I'm in Washington. Actually, I'm just a short drive north of the first deaths from the coronavirus in the US, ground zero, if you will. So the perspective I'm going to give you is from the heart of this shit show that we call Covid-19. Before I get going here, there are going to be some links down below in the description. If you click those links before you do your Amazon shopping, that supports me, that supports my family, that supports this channel, and I greatly appreciate it. As we all know, this thing's spreading fast. It's spreading so fast that politicians are taking drastic measures to try to slow it down. The media is in an absolute frenzy about it. If you watch 30 minutes of the news, you're going to think we're in a doomsday type situation. You're probably going to need to see a doctor and get some Xanax because your anxiety is going to go through the roof. There's something that I think a lot of people are really missing on this, and that's that the vast majority of people that contract it are going to survive. We're going to get flu-like symptoms. We're going to feel like shit for 2 weeks. We're going to start getting better, and then in the end, life is going to get back to normal for us. Let's be real about this, okay? It is everywhere. I've probably come in contact with it already. It's probably in your house or somebody that you know's house. You can't go anywhere without coming close to somebody who has been exposed to the coronavirus. There is a demographic of people that should be concerned. Elderly people, people with underlying health issues, weak immune systems, diabetes. I mean, the list goes on and on. These are generally the type of people that during the flu season are keeping to themselves anyways. They know that their health is in danger because of the common flu, and even though they get flu shots, they tend to stay home and limit their interactions with other people just to lower their chances of catching the flu and potentially dying from it. This is something that's already happening. It happens every year. Doctors and infectious disease experts are essentially giving the same advice they would during a normal flu season. Wash your hands frequently. If you have to sneeze or cough, cover your mouth and nose. Don't touch your face. Keep a reasonable distance from other people. Don't leave the house unless it's absolutely necessary if you're in a position where your health could be affected. We're talking about basic hygiene principles that parents teach their children as they grow up. So why all the panic? Why are people buying every last bottle of hand sanitizer and toilet paper? Why are grocery stores being cleared out the moment that they have been restocked and open? I mean, this stuff's seriously getting out of hand. I know a lot of states are going through the same thing right now. I don't know what it's like where you are, but let me give you a little insight into life in Washington right now. The governor shut everything down. We're talking schools, gyms, piercing shops, tattoo shops, public gathering, sit-down restaurants, coffee shops. I mean, think about that for just a second. Coffee shops. This is the home of Starbucks. In Washington, we live off of a steady diet of coffee. You won't find another state that has as many coffee stands as we do. On a lot of city blocks, you'll find 2 or 3 or 5 or more Starbucks. It's crazy. You can't go 15 doors without seeing one. So right now we have no sit-down dining establishments. We have a lot of coffee stands that are on street corners and drive-thrus and such, which is nice because if you take the coffee away from Washington, it will be an issue. Grocery stores are pretty much empty. You go through everything from canned foods, dry goods, medical supplies, cleaning supplies, friggin' toilet paper. Everybody's wiped out. Stores are getting shipments, they're stocking overnight, and by the next day when they open, it's instantly gone. Costco's have lines that wrap clear around the buildings, and they are limiting access to something like 3 to 5 people in the store at once. This is panic buying at its absolute worst. What's really sad is that the panic buying isn't being done by those people who really have something to risk by being out there and coming in contact with the coronavirus. It's being done by people who don't fall into that demographic. People that are at a healthy age are out there wiping these stores out completely, and it's absolute chaos. Look, if you don't have health issues, if you aren't 60 or over, just stop doing it. Stop going out there and making the situation worse by buying up every last piece of, food and cleaning supplies that you can. If you get sick, chances are you're going to get over it, and everybody here needs to eat. Everybody's got to be able to keep their house clean. Everybody's got to be able to disinfect everything. It's selfish. It's literally the worst thing that I've ever seen. It makes Black Friday look like nothing. When it comes to the total number of infected people in Washington, I really think that it's important everybody know that what you're seeing on the news is absolute horseshit. I know several people showing symptoms that have been exposed to people that tested positive, and those people are being turned away for testing. Just think about that for a minute. Somebody is around somebody who's sick and tests positive for coronavirus, and then later on they're exhibiting symptoms, but hospitals refuse to test them. Right now you have to be showing several symptoms and fall under the extreme risk category. Otherwise they absolutely will not test you. I mean, seriously, you can walk into an emergency room with a high fever, heavy chest and cough. You can let them know that, somebody that did test positive, and unless you are extreme risk, they absolutely won't test you. They'll tell you to go home because there's nothing that they can do for you, because you're going to be just fine after the couple weeks of feeling like crap. That means that the total number of people in my state that probably would test positive is alarmingly higher than what they're reporting. The way that the media has been pushing this into a frenzied state, if people really knew the true number of people testing positive, overnight this place would be friggin', the wastelands of Mad Max. And why? I mean, statistically, the vast majority of people that contract it, they're going to recover. It's crazy. I'm not saying there's no danger, but I mean, perfectly healthy people aren't going to notice the difference between COVID-19 and this year's flu. The panic is just sickening. People aren't buying cars. People aren't stopping at their normal spots that they normally do for coffee. They're not going out of the house and doing routine shopping. One by one, businesses are shutting down temporarily because of the loss of traffic, which I don't blame them. They can't afford to keep the lights on. The governor's forced many businesses to shut down because of his emergency proclamation, and he has no plan. Essentially, right now, all of those people put out of work have to rely on unemployment, a system that is continually crashing because of the overload. Today, he announced that they are going to hire 100 extra people to help push those claims through. Unemployment, that's the governor's plan. So a fraction of what they would normally make in their wages is what people are going to get if they can actually get through to file a claim. Meanwhile, they still have bills to pay. They still have children to feed. They still have, parents, grandparents, whatever to take care of. Everybody's got a family. A lot of communities and a lot of states are going through this exact same thing. That mechanic you trust, the one that you always bring your car to when it breaks down, he gives you a good deal because you always bring it into him. He's struggling because people are staying home. That cute girl at Starbucks that you've been trying to build up the courage to ask out on a date, she's struggling right now because people are staying home. That guy at the phone store, the one you always bring your phone to when it's acting up, or you've got some weird charge on your bill you need cleared up, he's struggling right now too because people are staying home. healthy people, people that aren't at risk of realistically severe complications from this coronavirus. So many people in communities all across the country are being affected by this panic. They have families that rely on them. They have loved ones that rely on them. This panic-driven chaos, all it's doing is hurting everybody in the United States. So me, I refuse. I refuse to stop life because there's a possibility I might get sick. Look, if I start feeling sick and I start showing symptoms that could potentially be coronavirus, yeah, I'm going to stay home. I'm going to self-quarantine for a couple of weeks. But until then, I'm going to continue to support my community. I'm going to wash my hands regularly. I've got seasonal allergies right now, so if I have to cough or sneeze or whatever, I'm going to cover my face. I'm going to make sure that I give a reasonable distance between myself and the next person just to be on the safe side. I'm going to hit a drive-thru and get some coffee. Everybody in there has somebody to support. I'm going to go to the hardware store and get some fertilizer and some grass seed. I mean, it is springtime after all. I'm probably going to take my truck in for an oil change. I'm going to keep living my life. I'm going to do my part to make sure that people around me in my community still have a job tomorrow. I mean, that's what America's about. We look out for each other when times are bad. We don't just stay in the house and let the economy crash over what, for most of us, is going to be a crappy 2 weeks. Honestly, I don't know how this thing's going to go. I don't know if it's going to get worse or get better. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a concerned citizen. I'm concerned about other citizens and their families. I'm concerned about the economy. I'm concerned that people in my community are going to lose their houses. I'm concerned that their children aren't going to have food. And the only way that I see that actually not happening is if people continue to do life. Now, depending on how this thing unfolds, I may do a couple of updates in the future. Really, it's going to depend on how fast things move and, what kind of new events come up as we go. Keep yourself safe out there, but above all else, don't let this hysteria destroy your communities.